Hi, I'm R. Sky Palkowitz, and I'm here in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. I'm with my colleague Ryan, and we're about to talk to some people about the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Hussein Obama, who also happens to be the first president ever elected of African-American descent. Let's hear what some people have to say about the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
Hi, I'm Ryan Wolowski, and I'm in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. I'm going to talk with Will about the 44th elect president, Barack Obama. Hi, Will. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
Now, let's talk about how you were for the past 8 years. Tell me about your thoughts on the last president, George W. Bush.
My thoughts are that it always wasn't clear that he could admit he was wrong, and then there seemed to be areas where they were hiding things from us purposefully, and that was just troubling. And
what do you feel he was wrong about, and Will, what do you think was hidden from us? I mean, there's a long laundry list,
yes,
but which ones are most important to you?
Decisions about going to war, I think he knew more than he said. I think decisions about habeas corpus and whether people have, even foreigners, have the right to, to a trial at some point. I think that's critical. I think if we remember the 2000 election, I blame the Supreme Court for not counting the votes. I think that's probably the lowest point of my entire life, realizing that I had believed I was an American my entire life, partly because we get to count every time that an election happens. We count. And they didn't count. I thought that was that was really disillusioning. Completely disillusioning. And at the same time, we often give advice to other countries about being democratic and what democracy means, and that is a fundamental aspect that I'd said it was extremely discouraging.
Are you happy with our new president-elect that we have, Will?
We don't know yet, but there is this moment that it could be. It feels very much like when I was younger, that it's possible, change is possible. I'm a little worried that somebody might come out of the fundamentalist ilk of the countryside and attempt assassination or something like that.
And let's, at this point, hope that does not happen.
Yes.
If anything, have him impeached if he's not doing a good job, not murdered. But you mentioned the war. Now, one thing I want to talk about, this is the first time in a very long time that there'll be a presidential transition during a war. What are your expectations with Barack Obama taking the office as president during a war? Do you think it will end, or do you think we may go to war somewhere else?
I think it's very difficult for him because we went in for the wrong reasons. We went in because of various lies that people told, and people that believed that I worked in organizations where the leader of the organization creates a culture where the people want to give them certain kinds of information as opposed to telling them the truth. And so we could at least hope for truth-telling. He's already there, and there are lots of troops there, and it's made it worse than it was before we went in. So there's a big question about whether you should immediately withdraw. I think that they want to have some kind of governance of their own, but I don't know anything about this aspect of politics. I think we've wasted a lot of money with no-bid contracts over there. I'm going by news reporting and things like that. So what will he do? I think he'll have some really hard decisions. I think that he'll withdraw in the first 4 years or so. I think that'll pull back, figure out alternative means rather than this kind of we must have victory at any cost. I've heard that. I heard that during the Vietnam War. It took Nixon how many decades to, seemed like a long time. All my brothers were potentially in the draft. All of my uncles on both of my parents' side served in World War II. So it's not, I think this last thing, I don't know, I should go away, because the thing I most despise about what's happened in the last few years is people claiming that somebody else is not patriotic because they believe in a different aspect. They believe something different, and they're said this person's a terrorist because he might have talked to somebody who may have been interested in overthrow of the government in some way. This person's a socialist because he wants to share. This person, come on. I just think that's completely wrong.
Well, before I go, I just want to ask you, this story is important to everyone as an American. Is there anything that you're passionate about that I might not have asked you?
Passionate about that I might not have asked you. More music. There should be more music. There should be more funding for education. There should be more funding for the arts. We have plenty of money. we should put it in the right place. We should invest in our children. We should invest in teaching people what they can be and what they can know, and spend less on destroying other parts of the world. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Will. I'm Ryan Wolowski at Grants Memorial in front of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. We're going to check in with our Sky Palkowitz, who's also here on the Mall, talking with people about the 44th elected president of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
We're talking with people about Barack Obama, the President of the United States of America. I'm here with Kristen Evans, who is a resident of Washington, D.C. Kristen, tell us a little bit about Election Day for you. Did you make it to the polls?
I did. I went before work.
Are you happy with the results?
I really am.
So I take it that you voted for Obama.
Yes, I did.
That's great.
Like most people here in D.C.
What was it like in D.C. the day of elections? Was it, in the morning, in the evening? Did it change a lot throughout the day? Tell us a little bit about your day.
I think it was pretty upbeat here. People were in a really good mood. I think people were really positive and kind of were hoping and thinking that it was going to be Obama who won. So everybody was just in a really good mood, and people were making sure that everybody got to the polls and, voted. So it was great, and people were talking about their experiences. So.
And what do you do here in D.C.?
I work on a project that provides housing to HIV/AIDS positive people.
So the people that you worked with, were they very happy about the results? Did you have a party, a celebration of any sort?
Well, I think it's difficult when you're in a federal office to be political in any kind of a way, but I think that my coworkers who work at my consulting firm with me, they were pretty happy about the result. I think the federal employees who I work with had to kind of stay pretty even keel through the whole process.
What do you think's going to happen with the war once Obama is in office?
Well, I think that he's going to try his best to get us out of the situation in a responsible way. I think that that's what everybody here is hoping for and wanting. So, yeah, I have friends who are really into the advocacy groups, and I have friends who are not. But I think everybody kind of agrees that the war just needs to end in a responsible way.
Kristen, I want to thank you so much for being with us, and we're going to hear back from Ryan really quickly with somebody else to talk about Barack Obama, President of the United States of America.
Hey, it's Ryan Wolowski. I'm in front of our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to check in with Gary Giles. How are you today?
I'm doing fine.
You look great. Show us your hat real fast.
Hello.
So let's talk about this current presidential election. Are you a D.C. resident?
No, I'm not. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
So if you could tell us, what was Election Day like in Cincinnati, Ohio?
Oh, in Cincinnati, everybody was very excited, because it seemed like we're going to have a chance to bring the country together and to make some changes that everybody know that we need to do.
Now, how do you feel about Barack Obama being the first ever African-American president, and why do you think it took to us until we got to the 44th to ever put someone in office of African-American descent?
Well, I think that maybe the country wasn't ready for it, and I think this was the right time, and he was the right person. I think because of our past president that's going out created some situations that I think that made the time right for Obama to come in and make some changes.
Now, what were some of the things you didn't like about George W. Bush, and what are you hoping with Barack Obama stepping in as the 44th president of the United States of America?
Well, some of the things that I didn't like was about the whole the war situation going on over in Iraq, and the way the financial crisis came down about the old regime. So what I'm looking forward to is bringing the country more together, instead of being a bunch of us and thems. It's going to just be we, and maybe we can look better in the eyes of the world. We can make our country give us back our standing in the world, and it can also, from the domestic point, make the financial situation better for the middle class, and just make everything better.
Now, some of the people that we've spoken to today said that there was a lot of emphasis placed on the fact that Barack Obama is a running African-American candidate. Do you feel that there is one of his stances that really ring out as a passion to you, besides the fact of the color of this man's skin and his origin, of why he's a great president at this time?
Well, a lot of people put more into that than I do, actually, because I try to look past the color issue. But I think it can let a lot of people of color realize that since Obama can make it to these, into this high position, it gives hope that everybody can make it, into a better position in life. It gives hope for not just for the African American community, but hope for the country as a whole, hope for the world even.
You found the greatness in this election. Let's talk about the war. What are your thoughts going forward? This is the first time, like I've spoken with somebody else, that we're having a presidential transition during a war. What are your thoughts going forward with the new president? Do you think that staying in war is a good idea? Would you like to see him pull out?
I would like to see him pull out in a graceful way. We can't just pull out, and just leave it hanging like that. I would like to see him pull out in a way where we can save face as Americans and also give the people in Iraq a chance to, bring their country together. But let's face it, they're going to do what they're going to do when it all.
Now show us the lapel here on your embroidered jacket. Were you in one of the wars here?
I wasn't in the war. I was in the military. I was a Cold Warrior. I was back in the time of the Cold War. But this is my division, 9th Infantry Division. I was in the Army.
So where do you feel the U.S. stands is taking a stance of going into other countries and saying this is what democracy is? Do you feel that that's a thing that we should be doing?
I don't think we should be trying to force democracy on any other countries, because a lot of countries, culturally speaking, they're not into democracy. I think we need to look more domestically and bring our own thing together and let the other countries bring their thing together.
Now, the one thing where we need change in the U.S. would be what? And we're going to wrap here.
The one thing we need change, I think, is going to be in the financial institutions. I hate to go into regulations and all, but I think we're going to have to maybe regulate some of the banking and housing industry.
And that will determine if it happens within the next 4 years or maybe even 8 years. Would you like to see him hang around for twice? Do you think he has that power?
I'd like to see him hang around twice and maybe like Franklin Delano Roosevelt 3 times if we need it.
I'm Ryan Wolowski in Washington, D.C. We're going to check in with Sky.
I'm our Sky Palkowitz, and I'm speaking with Ron from Florida about Barack Obama, the 44th President of the United States. Ron, you're just in town in D.C. here for a conference. Tell us a little bit about it.
It is the Healthcare Design, one of the largest design conferences for healthcare projects in the country. It was a 3-day show over at the Gaylord Entertainment Center here in D.C. And me and one of my associates came down on Sunday and finished up this afternoon.
So what was Election Day like for you in Florida?
Well, it was weird. In our office, we were very disappointed with what we heard about both the day of and the following day. But the city as a whole did almost a 180 from the 4 years prior to that. I'm not quite sure why. There's a lot of guesswork on my part and some people we've talked to, but I'm not quite sure if I feel comfortable enough saying that on camera.
Okay.
So you edit that out.
You were at work the day of the election. Did you
Correct.
make it to the polls to vote?
I actually went early. I went on Sunday, and I convinced my wife for the first time after 36 years to vote for the first time.
Wow, that's
so
great.
Got her and her sister, who had never voted before, to go with us.
Why was it so important this election?
Because prior to that, she didn't know me, and it had never been an important part of her process. And personally, I think it's something we should all be able to do. And I did it 3.5 months after I was legally able to vote for the first time, and have voted every election ever since.
And being in the healthcare field, what are your thoughts and feelings about how Obama will handle the issue of healthcare in America?
You know what? I'm not really sure. I think he's got some ideas that have some potential, and I think he's got some ideas that I think can hurt us. The biggest concern I have is what he's going to do to the small business and the effect that it's going to take on somebody like myself who works for a mid to small size business, and whether the ownership group is going to be able to afford insurance for all his employees. And if that doesn't happen any longer and he's forced to either make additional sacrifices or contributions, then he's going to have to consider whether he gives that as an additional bonus to his employees.
Now, Obama considers himself a man of change and that he wants to change our country. What are the changes that you'd like to see happen in this term?
God. I guess the biggest change I would like to see is some honesty. That whenever somebody's going to do something, don't just say it because that's what the people want to hear or what he thinks people want to hear. He's going to do something, he's going to say something, follow it up. He's got no excuses at this point. First time in, 40 years that we've got a Democratic House, Senate, and Democratic President sitting at the same time. He's got no excuses. And if he says he's really believing in this change, then he needs to make that happen. If he doesn't, it's going to be a short 4 years, and he'll find somebody else that will.
And Obama is the first president ever to be elected that's of African American descent. What's the feeling in Florida? You know, friends, family, relatives. What are people thinking about that?
Honestly, from the people I knew, I don't think that was ever an issue. I still don't think that was an issue. I think some of the decisions with some people around this country made that the only issue. That's a lot of reasons I think we had such a large turnout in certain populations and certain segments of this population. But personally, I didn't care whether it was white, green, black, male, female. As long as what they said is going to be followed up, I'm okay with that. I heard a lot of things. He needs to back it up. If not, I'm going to be very disappointed, and I will voice my concerns like I have for the last 4 years.
Well, let's hope that Obama is a man of his word and makes positive changes for our country. Ron, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back with Ryan at a new location.
Hi, I'm Ryan Wolowski. I'm in Washington, D.C. in front of, well, I guess you recognize all of that activity. It's at the White House. Let's check in with Paul about the current election of the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama. Paul, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
So let's talk about, we just announced that we're having our first African-American president. He is a Democrat president. He's a president that's coming into office during a wartime. What are your thoughts about who won?
Got mixed emotions about it. I think it's good because now we've finally broken the ceiling of silliness that African Americans can't advance in this country. I think that's a good thing. Maybe it'll finally help bring about some of the ends of some of the affirmative action programs and stuff that have happened in the past. And we'll see what happens with him. He's talked a lot of rhetoric in the election, and I doubt he's going to be able to keep up with a lot of what he said. For instance, his tax cut in lieu of the economic situation and whatnot, although it really wasn't a tax cut but more of a welfare payment.
Now let's talk about John McCain. Why do you think he would have been a good president for the United States of America?
John McCain is a war hero, probably has suffered more than any person for this country that has ever run for the office, and for that, I've got the most respect for John McCain, and I wish he had won because of that.
Now, how do you feel Obama will do in this transition during a war?
Tough to say. He's inexperienced, only has been in the Senate for a couple of years and spent more of that time running for president than anything else. Has no military service, and community organizing isn't necessarily a requisite for being commander-in-chief.
And now he does have that title where he will be running this country. Where do you see as his strongest point now that we can't change our president-elect? What do you think is his strongest point that gives you some sense of hope now that he has won?
You've left me speechless because I don't know the answer to that. Well, like I said, we'll see what he does. He's going to have a lot of very leftists running Congress who will probably be pulling him at least toward the left. I'm talking of Barney Frank and Henry Waxman and Nancy Pelosi and even Harry Reid in the Senate. So he's gonna have his shoes tied, so to speak.
All right, Paul, thank you for your time. Only time will tell how Barack Obama will handle the presidency. I'm Ryan Wolowski in Washington, D.C. Let's go check in with Sky.
Hi, I'm Sky, and I'm still in front of the White House, and I'm with Sean, a Washington, D.C. resident who works with international conflict resolution. We're talking about Obama taking over the presidency. What was the town like in D.C. the day of the election?
It was pretty much a party, I think, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and who votes Democrat, who votes Republican in this town?
Well, you got both sides, but for the most part, this town is better than 90% Democratic voters.
What do you think is the most important thing that will happen in the next 4 years?
That's a good question.
What would you like to see happen?
I'd like to see a more collaborative international environment where people are working together and not necessarily making unilateral decisions.
How do you feel about Obama taking over the presidency?
I think compared to any other president in recent history, he's got the best shot at accomplishing that.
Great. And what are you really passionate about for our country that he will bring change? And what issues are the most important ones?
I believe the biggest advantage of Obama is his tendency to not presume to have the answer. So he may find really good answers, and I believe he will, but he's not going to step forward and say, I'm the one who has the answer. But he will facilitate a process through which those answers come. And he's going to do that across the aisle. He's going to do that with a wide range of people.
Sean, thank you so much for joining us. Be right back. Hi, it's Sky again, and I'm right in front of the White House with Cora Fronda from San Jose, California. Cora, thanks for joining us. Tell me why you're excited about Obama being our next president.
I was so excited. Obama will be the one who will change our country, our nation, the entire world. Because I want our economy to be changed, to be rise up, boom again. Because I'm so poor now, and Bush was really the president for 8 years, and now when Obama won, thanks God for all the petition that I have for you. That's all what I want. For change, that's all.
How do you think Obama will treat other countries like your home country, the Philippines?
Okay, it will treat our country to be a great country. So I'm expecting it is a great country again.
Did you go out and vote?
Oh, sure.
Did you get all your friends to vote?
I get all my friends, and I have a big family and friends.
So what did
I
you...
all told them that vote for Obama. He will change a great nation again, will boom again, and will be a great change. That's all what I told them.
So the next 4 years will be a nice big party and a celebration of diversity, right?
Yes, ma'am.
This address isn't hard to find. I'm standing across the street from the White House in front of the National Christmas Tree. In 1923, President Calvin Coolidge was the first president to ever light the National Christmas Tree. And it's been a tradition ever since that whoever lives in the White House as president is going to be the person to light the Christmas tree. I'm thinking, now that we have a president who is for change, will there be a national Hanukkah menorah? Will there be anything to celebrate Kwanzaa or any other holidays that represent cultural diversity in this great nation of ours? Only time will tell. Let's meet up with Ryan.
This is where Martin Luther King gave his speech, I Have a Dream, which is engraved right here. While we're here, I ran into one of my neighbors from Canada. It's Rebecca?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
So are you visiting our nation's capital, or you hear about the elections?
I'm just here visiting.
Okay, now this is a pretty important time. This is our first ever elected African-American president. What was the vibe like in Canada? Were people talking about what your neighbors were doing?
I think we were all very, very excited. It almost felt like we were having an election rather than our neighbors. And we just recently had our own election, but I honestly think a lot of people were more excited about yours than ours. And I think it's the fact that Obama is such a charismatic person and an intelligent human being that I think we're a little bit jealous in a way.
Jealous.
Say that.
Jealousy can always turn to something good if you turn it around.
You know, I think everyone's really happy for you, and I think the whole world is looking towards some change and some positive change, and I think everyone's hopeful.
Now, Rebecca, before I go, this is the I Have a Dream location. Abraham Lincoln given credit for freeing the slaves. Now, the White House was built in part by slaves, and now it took us till our 44th president to have an African American in office. As our neighbor looking at us from afar, why do you think it took us so long?
I guess in the whole scheme of things, it isn't really that long. In our lifetime, it seems like a long time, but I just think it's a wonderful progression. It could have taken a lot longer, so I think we should be thankful. And
you sound excited that it didn't take that long.
Well, it's all relative in terms of, you know, length of time, but I think it's just we should be happy for the outcome and look forward to the future of, you know, new and improved things going on. And I think if you truly believe it's a global village, we're all working, you know, going in that direction more quickly than ever before. So congratulations.
Thank you, Rebecca. Enjoy the rest of your time in the United States.
I will.
I'm Ryan Wolowski on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, celebrating the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama. Let's check in with Sky real fast, then we have to close.
Yeah, they're all about Reagan. They're like, what Reagan? Hi, here I am at the Lincoln Memorial where Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. And I'm with Sarah and Mark from Idaho and Ohio. And I want to ask you guys, what is your dream for Obama being the 44th President of the United States? What's your dream for the future?
My dream for the future, I see the country going forward, moving forward in a lot of amazing directions with, you know, energy and equality and just all the things that we hope for coming forward.
And how do you feel, Sarah?
I'm really hoping that this means we can work on getting universal health care, working on green jobs, and really moving our country into the 21st century in a way that's fair and equitable for all Americans.
Thanks a lot for joining me, and we're back to Ryan. I have a dream that Obama will be the best president this country has ever seen. Back to you, Ryan, and we're almost done. I just had to have one more interview with our youth future of America. I'm here with Dorian from Houston. Dorian, how are you doing today?
Good.
Now, we're right here at the Lincoln Memorial, and you just stood where Martin Luther stood and said his famous speech, I have a dream. Tell me about that.
I liked his speech and what he said out there. It was great to me.
Yeah, and how do you feel about Obama being president?
Great. I would vote for him every day.
You heard it right here. He'd vote for him every day if he could. Well, I hope when you're old enough you can continue to vote for great people like Obama. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, R. Sky Palkowitz, and special thanks to all the people who took their time to talk with us here today in the District of Columbia. As you can see, not everyone is in support of the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, but there certainly are some that most certainly are. What I'm for is a brighter tomorrow and a most genuine future where we all have a voice and we have our independence. I'm Ryan Wolowski in Washington, D.C.